All right, we have a real treat. Every once in a while you talk to somebody that has a notable miracle in their life. But Robert Marshall has a litany of miracles that go on and on and on and on. And when he tells his story, some miracles that are, amazing miracles are almost details, because he's had so many amazing miracles. And so you may hear Cheryl or I shout out, Robert, tell him about, because he has some amazing stories. But I just want to thank you, Robert, for being here. He's talked to the kids in our school. He's talked to our young adults in our high school, and he's shared his heart openly with us, and it's been really wonderful. So let's welcome Robert Marshall, direct from heaven via Texas.
Well, it's first time I ever heard direct from heaven. I had a few detours, like France, Vietnam, China, Michigan. Oh, and then here. Yeah. Thank you, Pastor. How many were here last night and heard my testimony? Oh, good. I don't need to say anything. No. For those that did hear it, it'll probably sound like deja vu or Groundhog Day, one of the two. But for those that were not here, I did die. I was dead for 3 days, and I went to heaven. Now, I'm going to tell you how I died and what happened in there. Not because I want to sound all the gory details, and not because I want you to say, oh, he went through that. It's not about me. It's about God. And God commanded me when he sent me back to share how I died, why I died. And he did that for a very specific reason. He says, when I send you back, I'll send you back with a miracle that no one, not the doctors, not the scientists, nobody will be able to deny that he is God, that he is alive, and he is working miracles today, the same as yesterday, today, and tomorrow. He's here right now in each and every one of you. I know Pastor Dave said, I've had a litany of miracles, but no more than any of you. And mine's no different than yours. There's no hierarchy of miracles. All miracles come from one thing: love. And he is love. And every miracle in your life and mine that happened to me, we may view them differently. Some may have more attention. But understand this: a miracle is a representation and a manifestation of something in your life. Everything, including life itself, is a miracle. Love is not. Love is the source. Everybody is here. You woke up. It's pretty obvious. I know what it's like not to wake up. But everybody here is alive. They're breathing. Hopefully you're hearing. Maybe by the end of testimony, you might not want to be hearing. But you can. And all the miracles that are going on right now while you're sitting there, so your body functions, are the same thing that he did to bring me back. And it all starts from love and forgiveness. Without forgiveness, we wouldn't experience any miracle whatsoever. Not one. Because his forgiveness is his way of attacking and getting rid of those things that are bad. Creating that which is good, which is you, me, and our ability to experience and receive his love. So everybody in here is just as big a miracle as my standing here. Don't ever underestimate God's miracles. Pay attention to them because you get them every day. Okay, now that we know I'm not a miracle via heaven, I was born here. On May 19th, I entered Fort Worth, Harris, downtown major hospital. Prior to that, I had gone to a standalone clinic in Willow Park, Texas. And the reason I went was because I had a large mass on my neck. Came up overnight, very sudden. And I was having trouble breathing, and it just, it didn't feel good. It's a pretty good size. I had the man flu. And I told my wife, I said, I need to go to the doctor or emergency room up in Willow Park or something to see what's wrong with me. I just didn't feel good. Of course, I didn't like having this big thing on my neck either. And my wife had been in the medical field for all her life. I'm not telling her age. And you're not getting me in trouble. And she sits on a board of directors for 52 nursing homes. And she had a board meeting that morning, so she couldn't go with me. So I went to the emergency room in Willow Park, walked in, nobody in line. It was wonderful. Took me into the back room, checked me in, took me into the back room and said, the doctor will be here in a little bit. See what's wrong. I said, okay. And I waited, and if you go to the doctor, you're going to wait. They tell you 2 o'clock, figure 3. And if you don't show up until 3, you figure 4. So I'm waiting for this doctor. He finally came in. And of course, he pokes and prods and says, okay, well, let's see what we got going on here. He says, what we're going to do is we're going to send you down for a CAT scan. And we're going to take a picture of the mass to see what was going on. He said, we'll draw blood. And we'll start there and see what's going on. I said, okay. So the doctor leaves, and of course, the nurse comes in with a wheelchair. I said, I can walk. It's my neck. My legs are fine. Just get in a wheelchair. I said, okay. So I'm sitting in the wheelchair. They want to make you feel sick, I guess. So they're pushing me down. They went down. They gave me the CAT scan, drew my blood. Take me back, sit in the room. And this time I really got to wait a long time. There wasn't no TV in there or anything going on. I'm sitting there waiting. And those little white tiles up there in the ceiling that got the holes in? 723 holes if you're interested, okay? So I had to find something to do, right? So finally the doctor comes in. And he comes in, he sits down on a little steel stool, those little stainless steel stools, little wheels on them. You don't know why I'm bringing that up later. I found out why they have those. Why they don't have cushions. I'll let you know. So he sits down and he looks at me and he says, well, do you want it straight? No, I want you to lie to me. I said, yes, I do. He says, okay. He said, well, we got your CAT scan back, your blood test back, and I sent it out to 2 other doctors outside the hospital here. I sent one to an oncologist. I know what an oncologist is. And another doctor, and we've all come to the same conclusion. We believe that you have a diagnosis of a new, very aggressive form of cancer. About 99% sure. It's very aggressive. You need to deal with it immediately. The oncologist has cleared his schedule for you on Monday so that you can go see him. It's very aggressive. Do not put it off. Don't wait. Don't delay. Make sure you go. He gave me his card. I said, okay, thank you. He did his little checks and whatever it is, and they checked me out, and then I headed on home. And on the way home, I'm going, okay, how do I tell my wife? Now, I was a lot different before I died. I wasn't a very nice person. I'll admit that. I know But I was like, and I do not know why my wife put it on me, but she did. She said, well, I just let you be you. I said, yeah, but that was really dumb. So on the way home, I decided I better not joke about this. I better just tell her straight. So I walk in the door. She's at the kitchen counter, or the island in the kitchen. And she said, well, what'd they say? I said, well, they said they are about 99% sure that I've got an aggressive form of cancer, and I got to go see the doctor, the oncologist, on Monday. And they said, don't put it off. I thought I was going to get a cookie or something for being, straightforward this time, right? That's not funny. That's nothing to joke about. I had priors. I said, I'm not joking. I gave her the card, and she goes, oh, okay, well, we'll deal with it. We'll make sure we're there on Monday. We're going to do what we got to do. Well, I never made it to Monday. Friday, it had gotten to the point where it had swollen so much, and it was putting pressure on my airway. I was having trouble breathing. I couldn't swallow a sip of water. My wife has these little oscillometers, or whatever you call those things, that clip on your finger to measure your oxygen. She put that on there. And my oxygen level at that point was about 87%. Now, they say if you got below 90, you get to the emergency room right now. I was a little stubborn person. I was the man. I'm in charge. I'm in drive. I'm going to be there, I don't know why I was like that, but I was. Well, my vision's going in and out. I'm getting dizzy. I didn't know what was going on. And I got over the man flu and turned into a wimp, and I said, you need to drive. I didn't trust myself to drive. She said, we're going downtown to the major hospital, and we got in the car. She drove. On the way down there, I told her, when we drive up to the emergency room, drop me off at the door, go park the car, and then come on in. She says, okay. She drove up, got out. She went to park the car. It's Friday night, 6:30 p.m. in Dallas, Fort Worth, a major hospital. The other one had nobody in line. That was great, and I waited a long time there. I walk in the door, and that's about how far I got. There's like 14 people in line waiting to check in. I'm going, oh, you gotta be kidding me. I got up behind them, and I'm standing there, and I'm wobbling. Hard to breathe. The lady behind the window kind of leaned over to the right. She says, you okay? It was all I could do to get out. Not really. I'm having trouble breathing. I really don't know if I'm going to fall over or what. I couldn't focus. I didn't do anything. And she said, you go back there right now. And she pushed the button. The door opened. I'm not arguing with her at this point. I didn't care. I walked straight into the back. She must have hit another one because the doctor met me as I walked through that door. Now, the 14 people in line, I don't know what they were thinking or what they said. I didn't really. I imagine they had a few things to think about. I've been here for an hour and I can't even get up to the window, and you walk in, you go back there. So I go into the back. The doctor takes me over into the little setting room, the ones with little green curtains. He pulls it out, and he sat down, got on his little silver stool, starts poking and prodding, and they put oxygen up my nose, and little rubber things. You go up there, and of course he's got that thing on there too, measuring the oxygen, and they stick you all with them EKG things again, Do you know how sticky those things are? Try pulling one off. I'm going, I got a swelling thing on my neck. Cancer, they said, okay? Why are you putting, my heart is fine. And I just want to watch everything, and then they can bill you. So he's measuring everything, and he determined that he needed to intubate me. He was going to put a tube down my throat, put a tube down that with oxygen, because at that point my oxygen level was down to about 83%. Well, they were taking me to the back where they were going to intubate me, put me to sleep and intubate me, and my wife walked in about that same time, and they told her, and she said, just do whatever you have to do. And they put me in the back there, they put me to sleep, and it's a good thing, because if they wouldn't have put me to sleep, I'd have ate that tube. I'd have bit them or whatever I was reading. They're going to put that down my throat while I'm awake. Put me to sleep, put the oxygen in. This part is not because I watched this. This is what I read in the medical records and talked to my wife, because I was asleep at that point. They got the oxygen in there, and they got my oxygen level up because I was getting straight oxygen down in there. That's a good thing. But they admitted me to the intensive care unit immediately. Now, they didn't get me up there. They admitted me, but they didn't have the room ready until about 12 o'clock. And that's when I got up there, about 12 o'clock. Well, I laid in there, and of course, I came out of the anesthesia and stuff. It's a little uncomfortable, but I'm happy because I'm getting air. You're not getting oxygen. You get oxygen, you're happy. You don't care whether it's going down here or through your ear. It makes no difference. You can breathe. Well, I laid in there. My wife stayed this whole time. She never left. The 30 days, she never... That woman is so strong, I can't even say enough about her. Anyway, she's the one that went through it. I'm dead. Yeah, she's the one that got the hard time. So we laid there, and I'm going like, wow. The doctor came in on Sunday, or on the 19th of May, and looking at the charts and looking up everything, and I know I have a cough drop in my mouth, but my throat's a little raspy. I apologize for that. And the doctor said, well, everything looks good. Let's see how he does without the tube. See if he can breathe on his own. And he said, let me extubate him. You're going to take the tube out, see if he can breathe on his own. Sounds good to me. I can think I'm getting oxygen. Okay. So they asked my wife to leave momentarily while they took the tube out, because they don't know what you're going to do when they take it out. I learned a lot about doctors. So she took it out, called my wife back in, and she's looking and everything and watching me, and I'm breathing fine. I'm happy. The doctor stayed in there about 30, 35 minutes. Oh, no, actually, the medical records say between 33 and 35 minutes. And I'm joking with my wife, poking her. I'm thinking, I'm going to get out of here. But I do not like hospitals. I don't have that thing down my throat. I got oxygen. Oh, I got cancer. Everybody gets cancer. They can fix that. Get me out of this hospital room. I'm tired of hearing beep, 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 echoing down the other room. Boom, boom, boom. Yes. So she thought, well, that's pretty good. He's doing all right. So the doctor and my wife went out by the nurse's station. And medical records say that they were out there about 35 to 40 minutes. They left me in there alone. Everything's disconnected. I'm good to go. I just know they're out there. I'm going to get out of there. Well, sometime during that 35 to 40 minutes when I was all alone, that mass rolled over my airway, and I suffocated to death. Flatline. Not arrhythmia, straight flatline. No air, nothing. I died. Well, we don't know exactly when, so we don't count that period of being absolute zero oxygen. because we didn't have it recorded. So when I tell you how long I was without oxygen, that's only as per the medical record, so we can absolutely verify exactly how long. My wife came back in, and she's the one that discovered me dead. Blue as blue can be, just laying there. Of course, she just darted out the door and hollered at the doctor, "He's blue, he's blue, he's blue, come quick, come quick, come quick." Of course, the doctor reported immediately, saw code blue buttons got hit, and everybody in the world came. The first row and the second row and over here. That's how many, they brought their crash carts, everything. Of course, then I looked like a piece of sugar because it looked like ants crawling over and under, around. They were poking, putting tubes in. Had a large male nurse who was doing compressions on me. And he was going to town, trying to get my heart going. Now later, I asked the doctor, "Why didn't you use a defibrillator?" To go, "I've seen TV. Why'd this guy have to beat me up?" He says, "Because in order for us to use the defibrillator, we have to have arrhythmia or something like that they can shock." He says, "You had none. You were just flat." So, and I know Muhammad Ali's cousin's here or something, but the guy's name actually was Ali. Not his last name, but his name was Ali. And old Ali was practicing like I was a heavy bag. He was just pushing, breaking ribs. He did a good job, too. He didn't just break them, he split them. He was just working and working and working. And of course, they're trying to get the intubation tube down and everything else. Couldn't get it down because the mask was in the way. And every time they hit it, they clicked it. Bam, bam, bam. And they'd nick it and it'd bleed, and then a lot more happened, but I'm going to go to heaven now. So when I died, I left my body. And I was hovering above the ICU room, looking down and going like, "Whoa, that's me." I'm watching this guy take punching bag practice on me, breaking my ribs, I'm watching, and I'm not feeling anything at this point, but I'm watching this. And I saw him crawling under and everything else, and I recognized everybody later on. I actually went back and saw them and ran into one of the nurses who was there when I died at a church I was talking to. She was at the church, and I saw her, and I said, "Grace, how you know me?" Because they don't want you to know their names. I said, "I saw you." Says, "You died." "Yeah, I did." So I'm hovering, looking down at all this, and I kind of floated out into the hallway, and I saw my wife. And my wife was just doubled over. Crying like I had never seen her cry before. If I took a bottle of water and poured it, that would be what the floor was like. And from her tears, it was just a river of tears. And I'm going like, whoa. And I'm going, "It's going to be okay, sweetie. It's going to be okay." Of course, she couldn't hear me. She didn't know I was there. All she knew was her husband's in there dead, and they got some big guy named Ollie beating the snot out of his ribs, trying to break his ribs. He was trying to get my heart going. I know that. But when I saw him later and he came in, I said, "You're the guy that broke my ribs." And he didn't know whether he should come in or run. I don't know. But I floated back in. I looked down, and that fast, I was in heaven. And I was standing there, looking. And I'm going like, wow. And the peace and the love I felt was beyond anything I've ever experienced. And it wasn't coming from the outside. It was coming from the inside out, permeating all. I was just engulfed in it. It's the most incredible feeling you'll ever have. And I'm standing there going, oh, this sure beats all that pain down there, yeah. And I'm looking around, and I'm just in sensory overload. And over here on the left is what I call it the inner courtyard. It was a maze of trees and bushes, and the river of life was flowing down through it, and there were benches. It was just beautiful. And I saw a man over there in the distance on it, and I recognized him. I said, I think that's my dad. I'll get back to him in a minute. I'm going to go to the good stuff. So I'm standing there. I saw that. And I'm looking over to the right, and I'm looking at the trees. I'm looking at the trees. And I'm looking at the tree, and I'm going, wow. They're so beautiful, so magnificent. It's just unbelievable. And the greens and the colors. Hold on one second. If my dad could wait, so could you. Okay. So I'm looking at the tree, and I'm going like, and the colors of the trees, they just pop. They're just magnificent. They're just vibrant. I've never seen anything like this. Oh, we got 43 oak trees in our backyard, and they're pretty good size because I have to blow the leaves out all the time, at least once a year. But compared to the trees in heaven, our oak trees are like little dying twigs. No comparison. And I'm looking at the flowers. I'm going, oh. And they have flowers that I've never seen. Now, that don't mean they're not here. Just I had never seen them. But they were some that I've seen too. But the colors, they have colors that we do not even have. Not just blends of the colors. Colors, there's no name for them. You can't even, there's just nothing there. And they're just so brilliant. They just pop. They're like quadruple, not 3D. I mean, they were just like, and bright, fluorescent, beautiful. Oh, they were just beautiful. I'm going, wow. And I'm standing here now still. I'm like, I guess I was like, a deer in the headlights. I was a dead man in heaven. Trying to take all this in. And I'm standing there, and I look over my dad, and then I'm looking around. And there's no night, there's no day in heaven, but there's no sun in the sky. But the light, we've always heard that Jesus is the light. In heaven, that's literal. That's literal. What he does is he emits his light, and it permeates and lights up all of heaven, and it permeates everything and everybody and connects everything and everybody. And in that light is his love and his peace, and it does just permeate every corner of your being. And that's the peace and love that I was feeling. And it wasn't like a little whiff. I mean, it was like incredible. And I'm going like, whew. I'm still looking around. What do I see? And boom. Then I realized that in the background is this most beautiful orchestral music and songs, like white noise, not loud. Like if we stopped, you might hear some fans or some air vents or something going on, just a little bit louder than that. And I'm going, and it's everywhere. And it's like, we don't have notes and sounds like that here. It was incredible. And they were praising Jesus all day long. Now, where that was coming from wasn't a choir. Well, I guess it could be that. Every tree, every plant, every stone, every rock was giving off their own, what I call, a little melodic tone. Now, I say what I call because there's no words to describe heaven. And all those tones from all of them are different. And all of nature and those trees and everything, those tones combined together. And that's what was making that music and song praising Jesus continuously. Now, I said continuously because there's no day and no night there, but it was nonstop. I'm going, wow. And then, of course, back here, I'd just gone through a little episode. It was kind of hard to breathe. And I'm going, oh. But the air was the most beautiful, fragrant smelling air you can't even imagine. I know we all had different things, fresh cut grass. Oh, that smells so good. Those like horse. Oh, hay. I like that smell of hay. Perfume. Well, this smell wasn't like any of those. It wasn't sweet. It wasn't Grandma Tilly's vanilla goobab perfume. It wasn't your Uncle Bob and Grandpa's Old Spice or Brute. It was just the most incredible smell I've ever had. And I'm going like, wow. Where's it coming from? The trees, the flowers, all of nature. Everything gave off its own little scent. And in heaven, they combine, and that's what makes the air so fragrant. It's the love that went through them that flows outward and combined makes that beautiful smell. I'm going, man. It's beyond description. So I'm standing there, and I'm going, where do I look next? And I look over and I saw my dad, whom I thought to be my dad. I was pretty sure it was my dad. But see, my dad died in 2011 at 92 years old. And he died of throat cancer. Kind of ironic. I didn't die of throat cancer. I suffocated to death. I missed that part. But it had eaten him up. Cancer is not. It's a cruel, cruel disease. And I remember what he looked down. I think he went down to like 75 pounds or something like that when he died. But when I saw him, he looked to be about 35, 38 years old. Perfect health. I remembered him from my youth. He was vibrant, healthy, alive, happy. It's kind of strange because I never really saw him smile and be happy like that. You pick on a whole nother aura when you get to heaven. I'm looking over and I said, I'm going to go over there and talk to him. So I started walking over to my dad, and I walked over and I got to him, and I walked up. Now, my dad and I had this little whimsical thing that he used to do. I was in the military for a long time, been in a couple of wars and government stuff, and been shot, blown up, shot down. A few stuff happens, But every time I'd get in trouble or something would happen, my dad come visit me in a hospital or whatever, and he'd walk in, and he would always break the tension. And he always used to say him, and it was just my dad used to do this. It was just him and me. It was our thing, I guess. He said, well, son, you did it now, didn't you? And I go, Dad, I didn't do anything. I got shot or blown up or whatever it was. And he goes, I know. But it broke the tension. And I walked up to him, and I looked at him. Of course, I'm still questioning things here now. You don't know where to look, what to look at. And I walked up to him, and I go like, Dad? Like I wasn't sure. And he goes, yes, son, it's me. Boy, you really did it now, didn't you, son? I go, Dad, I didn't do anything. I just died. He goes, I know. But he broke the tension. Now, that actually was part of the lessons that Jesus was going to start teaching me. But he let my dad talk to me so that I would know that that was my dad. I guess I needed some physical proof. Kind of like when Jesus died and he was resurrected after the third day, right? And the dead came out of the grave, all the prophets and Moses and all them, and they walked amongst them because Jesus knew they needed to see. He conquered death, but he was showing them that he conquered death for us too. Of course, they walked and they went back in the grave too, but that's another story. But he let my dad do that so I would know that was him. So, okay, that's cool. So I'm talking with my dad a little bit, and like most people probably would. And I kept looking over in the far distance, and I saw a silhouette and a light around it. I'm going like, who's that? He says, who do you think it is? Because I'm not going to admit nothing at this point. Jesus? Yes, son. It's Jesus. Oh. Okay. I talked to my dad a little bit. I said, Dad, I love you, but I want to go see Jesus. And I started walking. I got about 2 steps. Them cutting, picking doctors. They got my heart going, and I'm back in my body. I literally just left heaven. Love, peace, hug, like I can't even believe, no pain. I mean, it was heaven. And now I'm in turmoil with Ali breaking my ribs and people crawling all over me, everything. And I'm going, oh, are you kidding me? Now, I was only back for about 30 or 40 seconds. But I did go back to my body, and they still had not gotten oxygen or anything into me yet. Now, this had been 15 minutes now, with 0 oxygen minimum, 15 minutes. No heartbeat, nothing, until this little bloop. Ran out to tell my wife. We got his heart and out of the room, the ICU room, comes, we're losing him, he's gone again. Now I'm going to tell you something now. If you don't have it, think about getting one. When that happened, they told my wife, asked her, what do you want us to do? And my wife said, you do everything. Now, they asked her that because we have what's called a durable power of attorney and a living will. And it says that if they put you on any life support equipment whatsoever, they cannot take you off, ours says, for 14 days unless my wife would have agreed to it. They were legally bound at that point to do anything, try anything, whatever they could to try and get me back alive. They couldn't end it. Now, the doctors wanted to stop right there. They wanted to go, okay, what time is it? Clock them off, pull everything, get them on out of here. My wife wouldn't have it. She said, no, you do everything. He ran back in and said, his wife said, do everything. Ali says, yay. He gets to work out some more. Muhammad would have been in trouble with this boy. He continued trying to pump on my ribs. Of course, I died again. And they were still trying to get the tube down and everything else. And I'll tell you what they did in a minute, but I want to get back to heaven. So I died. This time I didn't hover. I was immediately standing in heaven. This time I'm standing outside of a pasture. And I look over in the distance. And I'm going, wow, same trees. Courtyard's way over there. I saw my dad in the distance. I saw my mom over a little bit further. I never did interact with her. My dad was the only one that Jesus allowed me to interact with. And he had a reason for it. He has a reason for everything. He doesn't do anything without purpose. He really doesn't. So I'm standing there and looking at the trees, flowers, the smell, seem familiar. Ah, welcome home. Love, peace, calm. It was just, you just don't ever want to leave it. And I look across the field there and I see these 2 horses and 3 little dogs. 2 horses were trotting to me. They were going pretty good, trotting. 2 little dogs, short legs, running just as fast as they could to keep up with that horses. My wife and I had 2 horses. One was named Shakush. We called him Shak. He was a white Arabian. Had the personality of a playful clown and thought he was a dog. My wife and him would play out in the arena and out in the field, and you know how little dogs will dart at you and try to bounce off of you and chase you, you know how they do. That's what he would do with my wife. And she had to be careful because the horse is a little bit bigger than a dog. But he was just funny. The other horse we had was Nugget. She was a buckskin quarter horse, very pretty. Totally different personality. I'm so pretty. You may pet me if you'd like. Go ahead and comb my tail. She was Miss Prissy. The problem was she was that beautiful too. And she knew it and she was going to get away with it. So they're coming trotting across and I recognized them. But they weren't sick anymore. We had to put them down at 32 years old and 35 years old from disease and a lot of things. You know, horses, that's old for a horse. They were just beautiful again. No sway from saddles or saddle marks, and they were just absolutely gorgeous. I'm going like, wow. They're trotting up to me. 3 little dogs running, keep up. They got up there. Well, I knew the 2 horses. I knew 2 of the dogs. The 3rd dog, I didn't know who it was. Maybe it was a hanger-on, they got a friend. No telling. The first little dog I knew was Fudge 1. The other one was Fudge 2. We have Fudge 3 at home right now. He's doing fine. He is sweet. We name all of our dogs Fudge, so we never got the name wrong. 3rd dog, I didn't know who it was. I'd never seen this little dog before. It was cute. I'd never seen her. I found out what that little dog's name was when I got back, and I was telling my wife about what happened and describing it. Of course, my wife's crying over the horses and all the dogs, and then she cried over this one. She says, just a minute, just a minute. She went in and pulled out an old photo album, you know, those little square ones they used to have, you know, open up, got flowers on it, you got about this thick. She pulled out a picture and she says, is this the little dog? I said, yes, that's the dog. She says, that's not a dog, that's Annie. I had the dog. She had the dog before she even met me. I'd never seen this dog. But that little dog's name was Annie. And of course, my wife, she cried over the horses. She cried over Fudge 1, Fudge 2, Annie. She cried over me. I guess she loved me too. She cried at the hospital. So anyway, that little dog's name was Annie. And I thought, wow, I'm in heaven now. I'm not back with my wife. I'm back here in heaven looking at the animals. And now that's enough to make you be happy, right? I got a little cough drop in there. I'm trying to get out of the way. And then I got another surprise. Did you ever wonder what your little pets or your little dog or cat or horse or whatever is thinking? When you get to heaven, you'll know. But it goes both ways. Because somehow, Jesus has made it possible for you to communicate with your animals. Now, these are your pets. As he said, I gave them to you as a gift. And I will never take a gift back. And that's why they're there. But now, I'm able to communicate with my horses. I'm talking. I told him this. Don't ever bring this up in a restaurant. Because if you hey, Dave, I was talking to my horses in heaven and my little dogs. And the lady over here at the table goes, honey, let's get out of here. This man's talking to horses and dogs. So I'm in heaven, standing there, talking to my horses and my dogs, and it was just so cool. I mean, it was I can't even explain it how neat, but when you get to heaven, you'll know. But just remember this, when you first get there, they'll know what you're thinking and saying about them, okay? They know more now about what you're doing and talking about them than you understand. You don't understand. You don't speak Dogonese and understand that. But if you start looking at your animals, they'll look at you. And they'll look at your eyes and it's like saying, I know what you're saying. They know what you're going to do. They know when you're going to take them to the vet. Our little dog now, we can't even spell in front of him. He knows. Honey, we're going to go to the V-E-T. He's got to get it. He's gone. All right, so I'm talking to him, and I'm going like, okay. I see my dad over there and mom, and I look over and see the horse. I'm talking to the horses, and I'm looking at the trees. But I still see that light that my dad said was Jesus. I said, I love you, horses. Fudge, you guys are good. But I'm going to go talk to Jesus. So, 1, 2, 3. You know what them stinking doctors did, don't you? Ali. He got my heart started again. He had broken a few more ribs. He was going to have to get a new heavy bag. I'm back in my body. And it was absolute chaos. At this point, it was another 20 minutes. I'd been 35 minutes recorded with 0 oxygen, 0 heartbeat other than just a blip here and now another little blip. Fortunately, and thank God, and I mean that literally, this only lasted a few seconds and then I died again. But while I was there, I found out enough that Ollie's doing a good job breaking those ribs. He split them, he broke them, I think he got a couple on the other side. I don't know. He did the rope-a-dope on my ribs, I guess. So I died and I went back to heaven again. But what had happened while I was gone the second time, they ended up figuring out that they couldn't get that tube down because the mass was in the way. So they decided they were going to do a tracheotomy on me. Now, those scalpels are they're pretty sharp. Are there any doctors in here? No, well, if you are, they'll attest to it. If they lay that scalpel on you, it's going to cut you. I mean, I don't know how they get them that sharp, but they are some sharp little cotton-picking scalpels. So I got a doctor with a scalpel in his hand. It's going to cut me. He's going to cut my throat and put a trach in. Precise. Surgeons are pretty good. So was Ali. Ali didn't, he's not a respecter of surgeons. His job is to get that heart going. I'm bouncing all over the table. Let me tell you something. You're bouncing around, and a surgeon with a scalpel going to cut your throat is not a good combination. He cut it, cut a little bit large, cut it crooked, nicked a few things. I don't need that voice box. Get rid of it. We just got to get air in there. So he got it. They got it tube down in there, and they were put another tube down into that, with the oxygen. They were trying to get oxygen into me. They still couldn't get anything. They're pumping 100% oxygen through that tube down in through that trach. There's still no oxygen registration. What's going on? Well, it took them a minute, but they figure out that it must be a block because they check the instruments first, and then they figure, well, it must be blocked somehow. So they pulled it out. Not the trach, just the oxygen tube. They found out it was blocked. See, I had bled out into my lungs. And it was full of blood. And when they pulled it out, that 100% oxygen had a lot of pressure. And it sprayed everybody and everything in that room. Now, they determined I not only have a heart problem, an oxygen problem, I got a blood problem. Ultimately, what they ended up having to do was drill a hole in my side, drain the blood and stuff. They took out a liter bottle full of blood and fluids and stuff. There's some morbid people. They took pictures of this. We got a bottle of blood and fluid. Let's put it over here. We'll take a picture of that too. We'll put that in there. They have to keep records, I understand, but it really is when you think about it. It's just kind of morbid. You're not going to do anything with it. Yeah. So they were doing all this crazy stuff down in there, and they were going to have to scrape the inside of my lungs and get all the blood off because you have little thin membranes in there that absorb the oxygen. And they had to get all out of the way so the oxygen could actually get into my system. Well, fortunately for me, I thought, I don't have to feel that because I died again. But at this point, I was 35 minutes, no heartbeat, zero oxygen. Brain damage is not a good thing. Your brains never recover. After 5 minutes with zero oxygen, they say you're going to die. At 10 minutes, unlikely for recovery, but it could happen. But if you come back, you're going to have so much damage. The state that you would be in, they don't know whether you're going to walk, talk, do whatever. At 15 minutes, it's irreversible. At 35 minutes, it's eating everything in your body. See, we have what's called residual oxygen in every cell in our body. Your brain has it, your heart, your muscles, everything has it. Now, excuse me for that. What happens is when you don't get any oxygen, it's starving. And those cells start to eat themselves. They explode the cells to get the oxygen that's left in there. Now, when your brain explodes them, as well as the other ones, they get that oxygen, but in your brain, it destroys that cell. The brain cells do not recover. You can cut your hand, it'll grow back, it'll heal, different cells. But your brain doesn't do that. And when it explodes that cell, it gets that oxygen, but it also emits a gas. Just like when your heart, your muscles, and everything else, when they eat that oxygen, they explode that cell, it emits a gas. You've seen people that have died and they puff up. That's why, because that gas pushes it outward. Well, my skull keeps the gas in. I look like some kind of a monster. I look like the Pillsbury Doughboy laying there on steroids. But at 35 minutes, it was eating my muscles. I didn't even know I didn't know what a skeletal muscle was. I thought you got muscles. But I found out that you have skeletal muscles. The skeletal muscles are what holds the muscles to the bone. Well, my skeletal muscles were being eaten. My muscles were being eaten. And it was just kind of like hanging. Nothing to hold them to the bone. My body was eating itself. That's at 35 minutes. Before they even got to a point where they could get any oxygen into me was an hour and a half. And then it only went to like 0.03% or some 0.01. I'm not sure the exact percentage. But not enough to even doing, not 1%, a percentage of a percent. And they had a long way to go from that. But they didn't have a choice. They had to keep doing this. Because my wife kept saying, no, you do everything. The doctors are going, we need to end this. No. My wife wouldn't quit. I didn't know she could pray that much. So I'm back in heaven. I'm standing there outside the inner courtyard. There's the trees, the flowers. I still see my dad over there, but I'm looking at that silhouette. I'm going to go see Jesus. Those doctors have got priors. I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but I don't know if I'm going to be there forever or not. I don't know. All I know is I didn't like every time they jerked me back. I want to see if I can get Jesus. So I walked towards Jesus, and I walked about 4 or 5 steps, and I kind of look around to see, okay, Ollie must not be doing his job. He was still breaking ribs. He just didn't get the heart going. So I kept walking. Now, when I met my dad and I talked to him, I told him, I says, well, how do I get to talk to Jesus? And he says, well, son, he said, what you do is you walk over there, that you approach him. You start with your right knee on the ground, and then your left knee on the ground. And if there's a conversation to be had, he'll start it. Okay, Well, I never made it over to him. But I remembered what he said. So I'm walking and I'm approaching Jesus, and I found out something. Did you ever wonder what it would be like to catch your dad wrong in something? He was wrong. You see, I didn't start out with my right knee on the ground and my left knee on the ground. As I approached Jesus, my dad was wrong. I fell full prostrate, face down in the ground, crying like a little baby. I couldn't stand if I tried. I couldn't have been on my knee if I tried. It was the most overwhelming thing I've ever seen. I was in front of my Lord and Savior, the creator of the entire universe. Heaven became very real. It wasn't any question of, Dad, Jesus. No, I was in heaven, just like we're here, not in a dream, not in a vision. And I'm laying there crying. Now, I know there are no tears in heaven. there's no tears of sorrow. But if you think there's not tears of joy and humility, you're wrong. And you'll find out that when you get there. It's the emotion is so overwhelming, it's got to go out someplace. And it just gets released. Well, Jesus stood and he walked over to me. He said, give me your hand. And he said, stand. And I stood. He wiped my tears. He said, it's going to be okay. We've much to walk and talk about. You've much to learn. Now, at that point, you think, I'm going to be just doing whatever he said. But I didn't. I've been known to say dumb things. I wasn't a full resident of heaven yet. He still let me be my dumb old self. And the first thing out of my mouth was, can I go back? We have short memories, don't we? I said, can I go back? I need to comfort Carol. I could remember Carol crying. It was devastating. It was breaking my heart. I said, I want to comfort her. I need to take care of her. And Jesus never responded to it. He says, come, we need to walk and talk. You've much to learn. Now I got some good sense in my head. I'm not going to argue with Jesus anymore. And we walked. And Jesus taught me. Now, the way he taught me was different than what we do here. When he taught me, it was like a full immersion. Here we talk. You listen, you remember. Cat, C-A-T, cat, C-A-T, dog, D-O-G, dog, B-O-B, no, oh, D-O-G, oh, okay, yeah. So you learn by mistakes going back and forth. In heaven, when he taught me with a full immersion and showed me everything and taught me. Now, Jesus, God, is outside of time and space. And he can do whatever he wants. Now, down here, we have time. Down here, 10 minutes could go by. In heaven, he could have 10 million years go by. He says, come, let's go. We walk. He grabbed my hand, and he took me through time back to the beginning. And that's where my education started. He took me to creation, through the rapture, to the new heavens and the new earth, and everything in between. Now, he didn't just tell me about it. He would show me. And he would explain it. He would tell me what's going to happen and how it was going to happen and why, as I got to watch it. When we went back to the beginning, he looked at me and he says, Robert, do you see that black? I said, yes, Lord. He said, that's not evil. That's nothing. He said, I created everything from nothing. I spoke it. He says, now, watch. And he spoke it. He spoke it into existence as I watched. It was the best fireworks show I ever seen. And he started there and went back through every moment in time. He showed me Satan before he fell, why he fell, He explained all of it. He told me, he showed me, I saw dinosaurs, I saw the Garden of Eden, I saw him create Adam, I saw him create Eve from his rib. I saw everything. And he explained everything to me. Now, I didn't know why he was doing this. And even today, I don't know why he chose me to tell me all this. I know why he said he wants me to do with it, but still, why did he choose me? I have no idea. We continued on. I watched the parting of the Red Sea, Moses, Sodom and Gomorrah, everything along the way. Including the crucifixion. And at the crucifixion, as I'm watching, he's explaining everything, why, and everything that was going on. And he explained how his love was demonstrated in everything that took place on that. Everything. We look at the crucifixion as the crucifixion. But he explained it how it was love. It had to be done to fulfill the prophecies. A couple of things that we all know in 1 Corinthians 13:4 through 7 is the love chapter. You know, love's patient, love's kind. It's not prideful. It's not self-serving. All those things. Those are not just words. Those are his values, his virtues, his very essence. It's a picture of him. He is those things. He doesn't just do those things. He is love. When we get a miracle out of love, it isn't from his emotion. It's from him. Every miracle, everything starts with love. Love is not the miracle. The manifestation of the miracle of how he lets us see it or operate in our life is what the miracle is. So he's shown me when the guards came to get him, Peter pulled out a sword, cut off his ear. Jesus didn't go, yeah. He says, no, Peter, put your sword away. I'll go willingly. He reached down and grabbed the guard's ear, put it back on, and healed it. He certainly didn't take into account a wrong suffered there. He went willingly out of obedience because he knew what had to be done, even though he knew it wasn't going to be good. Do you think he wanted to go to the cross? He wanted to be crucified, beaten, whipped, scourged, mocked? No, he didn't. He did that for you. It wasn't self-serving. He didn't need salvation. We did. He was our salvation, and he laid it down for us. He went there for you, me, because he loves you that much. He is love. He went to that cross willingly. There's no way you're going to tell me that was self-serving. And on the cross, we could take a little lesson from this. He says, Father, take this cup from me. He didn't want it. He was suffering. And he said, nevertheless, let thy will be done, not mine. Do we really do that when we pray? Or do we want instant gratification? I want it now. Patience. First thing, verse 4. Patience and long suffering of what love is. Oh, well, wait a minute now. I want patience. Sorry about that. I have runny eyes. I try to keep them in. They go straight to my nose. We need to understand that those values, those virtues, In John 13:34, he gave us a new commandment. He says that you love one another as I have loved you. He demonstrated his love. He wrote down those values and virtues that we're supposed to do. Those aren't just words. We need to use that as our checklist. Like a pilot has a checklist before he takes the plane off. Well, hello, Satan. He just decided to knock the camera over. Is everybody okay back there? We're going to wait 1 minute here. Wow. He doesn't want this to get out, does he? I didn't have seen it. What in the... Oh, well, if you can hear us, you might not hear us, but the reason we stopped is because... Oh, I'm still being filmed. Okay, well, the main camera in the back just fell over. All right? They're going to figure out nobody's hurt, but the whole camera thing collapsed. That'll stop you, won't it? All right. See? He can try, but he can't stop it. Okay? So, everything about love is demonstrated at the crucifixion. If you go and you look at what he is, love is, and see and place it in the crucifixion, you'll see his love demonstrated. So we continued on, all the way through until new heavens and new earth, and he explained everything along the way in full, absolute detail, and I asked questions. I asked some dumb questions, yes. But no questions dumb. All you're doing is seeking the understanding. Ask me what the lottery is? That's a dumb question. So we finished up. We ended up at the inner courtyard again. And as we went into the inner courtyard, we sat down on a bench under the canopy of trees, on a bench next to the river of life and the flowers and the setting, the smell. And I'm sitting on a bench with Jesus. I couldn't even talk. I had been given so much information at this point. I really, if you can believe this, I was at a loss for words. And we're sitting on the bench. And I was here, and Jesus was here. And he started the conversation. He said, Robert, I heard you when you first got here, when you first came before me. And you said that you wanted to go back because you wanted to comfort Carol. He said, however, I couldn't and wouldn't send you back in that state. He said, your brain has been destroyed. Your body has been ravished. Your brain doesn't have the ability to tell anything or do anything in your body. There is no activity. Your body is non-functional. And if I were to send you back, and even when he said this, he was kind. He didn't say, if I send you back, you're going to be a vegetable. You're just going to lay there like, oh. Well, they used to refer to me as the potato in room number 7 at the ICU. Not Jesus. That was them. He said, if I sent you back like that, he said, you would be self-contained within your own body. And it wouldn't be anything. You wouldn't be able to comfort anybody. You wouldn't be aware of anything. You couldn't help Carol. You couldn't help anything. You couldn't even help yourself. You would just be existing, self-contained. Therefore, I couldn't send you back like that. I thought, okay. I guess I got my answer. I didn't say that. I learned to shut up. And then he said, however. If he ever says, however, pay attention because something's coming. He said, however, I could, and I would send you back with some caveats, some conditions. Okay? He said, first, I'll send you back with a miracle that nobody could deny. Not the doctors, not the scientists, not even yourself. Nobody will be able to deny. And they will know that I am God, that I am alive, and I work miracles today, as I did yesterday, and as I will do tomorrow. I'm in control, not you. He said, I'll send you back as if nothing ever happened to you in your life. He had my attention. He said, I will send you back. Brains don't recover. Now think about this. When that brain is destroyed, every memory that you had of your entire life, how to walk, talk, everything throughout your entire life is gone. He said, I'll send you back and I will give you a new brain, a new heart, new kidney, new liver. Everything will be brand new, as if you had never had a thing wrong. He said, I will give you a complete memory of your entire life with full recall. I'll give you a complete memory of everything that I taught you, everything you experienced, everything you learned about heaven, me, the Bible, everything I taught you. Everything. And I'll give you total recall. He said, and then I will command you. It wasn't an option. I will command you to share everything I taught you that you learned with anybody, anywhere, any place that I put in front of you. Every one of you are here for a reason. I didn't call you. He called you here. You might not understand everything, but I can guarantee you're probably going to know one thing, that he is love. There's no question. He says, and then I will command you also to answer any questions anytime, anywhere, any place that I put in front of you. And you will do so in truth and spirit until I bring you home. Okay? Then he put a couple ifs on me. He said, if you choose to go back. If I choose, I know what's back there. If you choose to go back, he said, there will be one more thing. He says, when you enter your body, you will feel every ounce of discomfort, every ounce of pain, everything from the moment that you walked into the hospital until you leave. He says, you won't be able to understand, but I'm going to make sure you understood and felt everything. And you will feel it as if you had no anesthesia. He said, they will give you anesthesia and paralyzing drugs, even though they know you're dead, or they assume you're dead. And they'll do that out of protocol. And they'll continue doing whatever they're going to do through surgeries and whatever else. They won't know you could feel anything. They won't even know you're there at that point. But you will feel everything. And then he said another if. If you survive that pain, if I survive that pain, what's he going to put me through here? Then I will allow the doctors and your new brain, your new organs, along with that, to mend your physical body, your muscles and so on, until you will be absolutely perfect. And you can go forth and you can share my word. He says, You need to choose. You could stay here in heaven, and you'll be perfectly fine. You'll never remember this conversation. It'll never be held against you. You will never remember it. Or you can go back as I commanded you and fulfill what I commanded you under all the caveats. He said, I'll search your heart, your soul, your very being, and I'll have to know that it's correct reasons. See, I had priors too, okay? He knew I wanted to go back to help Carol. He had to make sure it wasn't my trying to play a trick. He said, you choose. You want to stay or you want to go back? It didn't take me long. I told him I'd be honored and blessed. The next moment, Ollie won. He got my heart started. Only this time it was a new heart. But he didn't know that. He left some remnants of broken ribs, though. I entered my body. He wasn't lying. I felt everything. I'm not going to go through all the gory details of everything that I did through surgeries and everything because I don't want to cry anymore. But I got to tell you some funny stuff. When I came back, we got some doctor's attention. All those doctors that were like, well, Mrs. Marshall, we need to end it. Remember, the 19th of May is when I died. Every day until the 23rd of May, they tried to convince her to end everything and just let me go. But you got to understand the doctor's point of view. They know what happens to your brain after an hour and a half of zero oxygen. They know there's nothing left. They I'm sure were trying to protect her, you know. I mean, I'd just be laying there. We would have known, you know. I mean, they understood. Well, my wife wasn't having any part of it. She kept praying and crying, praying and crying. I call her the crying prophet, but she's not a prophet. Carol, and I got to say this, is the strongest woman I've ever met in my life. What she went through while I was gallivanting around heaven with Jesus was far worse than anything I could ever have gone through. And that woman is amazing. So now let's get down to funny stuff. The 23rd of May, just about had my wife convinced. Let's end it. So the doctors in there, nurses in there, in the ICU room, room number 7, and my wife, I guess she was saying goodbye or whatever it was. And my wife and I used to hold hands. We still do. We do now. I used to act like I'm still dead. She put her 2 fingers in my hand like this if we're driving, and you know, I would hold her fingers. That's how we would hold hands. And she had her fingers in my hand. Jesus sent me back. They're talking about ending this. We talked about cremation. Hold on. You're going to say, yeah, let him go down and cremate me now? Wait a minute, I'm in here, you know. Well, even though they had me under all this crazy stuff, I managed to squeeze her 2 fingers. She squeezed him back. I squeezed him again. She squeezed him back. I didn't have it in me. All you're getting is 2 squeezes, hon. That's it. She looked at the doctor and says, he's in there. He just squeezed my fingers. And the doctor says, no. It's impossible. He can't. You've seen the MRI. He has no brain activity. His brain is dead. There's no way that he can squeeze your fingers. And if he could, his brain was capable of telling me that. His muscles, his skeletal muscles, everything has been destroyed. There's no way that he can squeeze them. He said, maybe it was some type of a twitch from the drugs and a muscle twitched or something. But no, he squeezed mine, I squeezed his, he squeezed mine, I squeezed him again, but he didn't squeeze it, just did it 2 times. No. The doctor says, aha. He didn't say this to her. So I went back and talked to the doctors. He knew that was his chance. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lower everything, all the drugs down to nothing. I come back in a couple hours, and I'll show you there's no reaction to anything. No tactile stimulus, no pain, no nothing. Okay. Well, my wife is still thinking, no, this lady doesn't give up. I'm going to tell you, I want her on my team. She will not quit. I can tell right now that some of you that are going, aha, see, I can see all your reactions. That's my wife too. Right here. Oh, I can see. I observe. I actually watch. So you're looking at me like I'm looking at you and watching everything. So is Jesus. So a couple hours later, the doctor comes back. You remember those little, I'm gonna start getting a steel stool and take it with me. You know that little stainless steel stool on the wheels? I know why they have wheels. He scoots the little stool up, sits down in it. Now, this is the leading pulmonologist in the country. Pretty smart man. He's about to show me how intelligent he is. He's going to talk to a dead man. He gets up next to me, sits on the stool, right next to my ear, like a funnel or a cone. Now, his name is his own doctor's name that we use, and we told him, I'm not telling you anything that we haven't told him and said to him. My name is Dr. Gouda. Like the cheese. He said it. I didn't. From then on, he was known as Dr. Cheese to me and my wife. She won't call him anything else. Okay, he announced himself to a dead man. He knows I've been dead this long. He knows there's no brain, nothing. At least I hope he is, or I might want a different doctor. Then he got really intelligent. If you can hear me, he's screaming as loud as he can. In my ear. Now, 2 things in that. One, if I am alive, obviously I could have heard you. If I'm dead, there's no way I could hear you. It's kind of a weird question, wouldn't you think? If you can hear me, here comes his intelligence. Raise your up. Raise your arms. He just told a dead man, raise your arms. He's on his protective stool. Straight up in the air. Here's why they got them wheels. He scoot that chair back so fast and goes like, what the? I'm not going to say what he said. No, that's not possible. And the look on his, I would love to have had a camera. Looks at my wife, looks at the nurse is over here going like, my wife's going, yeah. Scoots the chair back up. Wiggle your feet. He scoots back for the reaction. Both feet. No, this is no. This is not happening. It's not possible. I don't know what he thought he had a zombie or what. He scoots back up again. This guy doesn't learn. Now, wait a minute now. He's talking to a dead man as far as he's concerned, and the dead man's reacting to him. You got to give him a little break here, okay? Look at me. They had this crazy gel on my eyes, because they wouldn't shut and I was dead. They didn't want them to dry out or something and crack, right? Looked like you took Vaseline, got them. Must have looked like a big old dead fisheye or something, And he tells me to look at him. I want to give him a taste of his own medicine. This guy don't learn. Blink. Did you ever try to blink with your eyes covered with gel? That wasn't good enough. Blink faster. I'm blinking just as fast as I can. He says, I do not know what's going on here. I don't understand it. The nurse is over there as far as she can get. He says, raise the drugs, raise everything up as high as you can get. We got to figure out what's going on. So they raised everything back up. And by the way, they kept me sedated for 21 days while they're trying to figure out what's going on. Now, he says to my wife, he says, I've got to do some more MRIs. I don't know what's happening here, but what he just did is not possible. I really got tired of them telling me what I can and can't do in there. So now, my wife goes, okay, I'll wait. And he says, no, we have to do more than just one MRI, and it's going to take a little while, and there's other people that we have here we have to do. We'll get it done tonight. Come back tomorrow, and I'll have the results. And my wife would never go home. He says, get some rest and come back tomorrow. We'll see what we're dealing with here. So my wife did go home. I don't think she got a lot of sleep anyway, but she came back the next morning bright and early, and she walks in and went up to the nurse and goes, did the MRI results come in? And the nurse says, yes. My wife says, well, what'd they say? Now, my wife's been in the medical field for a long time, and she knew the nurse couldn't answer, but the nurse says, I can't tell you that. I'm not a doctor. I don't read in the same way that they do. The doctor will have to tell you. My wife's going like, well, when will the doctor be in? Another couple hours. They love that word, a couple hours. So my wife waited. Here comes the doctor. See, this is MRI on the brain. This was on the 19th of May. This, I'll hold the other hand. This is the MRIs that we did last night. It's not the same brain. He said, there's nothing wrong with him. His heart is fine. His liver is fine. Everything was fine. He says, we don't understand. We don't know what's going on, but we'll figure it out. How about take them drugs off and let me go home, okay? Well, I'm going to say it. I know you. He's over here. Hey, make sure you tell. Well, they did a tracheotomy during this whole process. Excuse me. And they cut it a little bit large. And then, of course, it was kind of crooked and everything. And they had a trach in there. Well, before I was going to leave, they had to take that trach out. And the day before, they had, my wife was there and stuff, and they said, well, we're going to take the tracheotomy out of there. But now you have to understand there's going to be a hole in his neck about this big. He said it's large enough you could take, everybody know what a golf ball is? The hole was large enough you could put a golf ball in. Be kind of tough getting it out. He says, now, you have to keep this covered, wrapped, and clean. Anything that goes into that hole is going to go straight into his body, and it's not going to be good. My wife understood all this. He said, all right, now, I'm going to take the trach out, and I'm going to show you exactly how to clean this and keep it covered in bandage. He said he can't take showers, you can't do any of that stuff because any water, anything gets in there, it won't be a good deal. Now, he didn't say that. He used other medical terms, you know. So they pulled the trach out, and they cleaned all the around it, you know, the skin and, you know, on the edges, and said, okay, it's going to take 8 months to a year for this to heal. He goes, so now, when this heals, we'll be able to take and we'll be able to stitch one of those little, we got to be able to stitch to it so that we can stitch in a little microphone or whatever they put in there so I could talk and go, rah, 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 you know? Because you can't talk without a voice box. They're going to fix it. They're going to put in a pretend one so I sound like Grumpy the Bear. Well, they took it out. They explained to her all this stuff. Bandaged it, wrapped it, big old gauze pad. They can't just put that. They got to wrap my neck. Look like getting me ready for football. Maybe they're getting ready for Ali again. I don't know. So they got that done. The next day, of course, my wife's there. I'm going to go home. Yes, I'm getting out of here. All right, I'm happy. Okay, that's fine. You can do all that stuff in there. All right. Oh, by the way, that mass, it wasn't cancer. It was a strep infection. But they determined that it was cancer, and they called this the cancer because when they drew the blood, it showed cancer. They related it to this because this came up all of a sudden because I didn't know anything was wrong with me. But what actually it was, this was a strep infection. I had liver cancer, and I had less than 4 months to live. I got a new liver. There's nothing wrong with my liver. Nothing. There's nothing wrong with, well, my wife said, I'd say there's nothing wrong. My wife says, yeah, well, I'll be the final say on that. So they come in the next morning and they say, okay, we're going to show you one last time how to clean this. Make sure you have plenty of bandages. You understand this, of course. You know what he brought with him, right? The little silver stool with the wheels. I had priors. He sets it down and he unwraps it. And he's telling my wife, okay, now when you peel this bandage, I'll be real careful because that skin is really tender there. And if you tear it, it's just going to prolong it so we can stitch in things in there. And they going on, keep it clean, don't put nothing in it. Yeah, I'm not going to hide golf balls in there. It's okay. He does that, and he pulls the thing up, and he's sitting in this. I'll call him escape hatch. He pulls it up. When did they take that out? I looked at him. I said, well, last night about 8:30. He goes, you can't talk. I'm really tired about you telling me what I can and can't do in here. He says, no, you don't have a voice box. You don't even have a hole. There's not even a scar. Overnight. And I've been talking where there were respiratory therapists and doctors and them, and they're staring. The first one was funny because there's a couple of physicians' assistants over here. I was talking to them, and they're like, and I asked him, what are you looking for? He says, you don't have no scar there. You had a trach? I said, yeah. That's not possible. I was talking to Michigan. This is funny. I was talking to Michigan, and they were, what's the respiratory therapist from one of the hospitals that I was talking to? And she kept coming, and afterwards she comes, she says, can I touch you? I mean your neck. I said, sure. And she's going. And she kept wanting to come back and pet it. She said, it feels like baby skin. She said that. So, obviously, Jesus is alive. He does love you. And he does do miracles. Don't ever doubt it. And know that he does love you. Thank you for letting me share Jesus.